It is Thursday, June 26th, and you are joined by a pairing that has never handled the full episode together. It's me and Dion. You get us today, a hostile takeover of your Sleepers Media podcast feed. Dion, how are we doing this evening when we are recording?
I'm doing good. As we're recording Wednesday night, obviously for the Thursday full episode. Obviously, Riley and I are handling a lot of the draft coverage. To my left, I got the homie, man, my brother's Cart and G on the Bleacher Report streaming. Like, what a massive moment for the two of them. I mean, they're talking to Jake Fisher, who's like one of the biggest NBA insiders, maybe like in the world. Isn't it? Like, it's just it's crazy to think about. I appreciate them and always like humbled that they're willing to like leave the channel with the two of us because like this ultimately like this is their baby, and so it means a lot that they're willing to leave it with us.
I think that's well said, Dion. Reached out to them earlier today. It was post getting their makeup done, which you know you're big time when you're coming out of makeup. Very odd seeing them both clearly with makeup. I'm not gonna lie, but you know it's gonna look fire on the live stream. That's all that matters. I just feel like it's a massive opportunity. I'm glad to get to ride their coattails and happy to be on this show with you nonetheless. What you got to drink?
Cheers to my dogs. Hennessy XO. Only break it out for big moments. This is a big moment for G and Cart. Had to break out the hen dog.
In their honor, man, I don't have it on me. I should have grabbed it before we started recording. I will be drinking a Dogfish Head 60-minute IPA at some point this evening, which very on
Oh,
brand
oh,
for
oh,
me. What'd you say?
oh, what?
Dogfish Head is the brewery. 60-minute IPA is the beer.
Boy, that name could be taken way out of context. Way out of
It's named after the dogfish, the fish.
way out of context.
Never
I
seen a
mean,
dogfish before. You know what, Dion? As I was explaining this, it sounded better in my mind than it did as we fleshed it out. But
yeah, I mean,
I,
yeah.
I
Probably in the business too.
what'd you say?
There's a marketing director somewhere that probably agrees.
Well, do you want to get into the YouTube comment of the day?
I absolutely do. But just like Cart, I had one and now I can't find it. Um, so I'm looking. It was a good comment. It was a good comment. That stinks. This was a good comment. This is a bad listen, by the way.
Okay, well,
Bad.
you do that. I will give the people a play-by-play of what I am watching of G and Cart on the show right now. Cart is very focused as Jake Fisher speaks. We got G behind a laptop. That is a strictly business move on his part.
And I'm be honest, we gotta talk about Cart's makeup. Gotta talk about Cart's makeup a little bit.
What,
They might have done my dog a little dirty.
how so? What do you think they missed?
It to be honest, doesn't look like he has any on. Like
I mean, I think that's
it
probably how
just
it's supposed to be, though. You know, you want their
yeah,
face
but
to
it
pop a
also
little
looks
bit.
like they have a light right on his head.
See, I think, yeah, they do have the light right on the forehead. Wow, this is a real tables turning moment where Carter always rips on me and Greg for having large foreheads, and yet here he is with his forehead getting the spotlight.
Yeah, it's tough. All right, I found one. It's not the one I was looking for, so I'll save the one I was looking for Riley Friday. Shout out to us. We're also doing Riley Friday. But it says this one is hold on, already forgot it. That's tough, man. That's tough. Hold on, where is it? My dog Noah Conley, Dion going full James Harden. Barber's in Cancun. Barber came back from Cancun. Barber's sick. Currently have a Friday 11:30 appointment to get all of this fixed. I'm going to a rodeo next Saturday. Shout out to me, cowboy. A lot of people don't know that. Not a Dallas cowboy, just a regular cowboy. Never been on a horse though. But anyway, going to I got to make sure I'm fresh for the rodeo. You know what I mean? Got to make sure I'm locked in.
Have you ever been to a rodeo before?
No, I
Dude,
don't even know what it entails. It was an excuse for me to buy cowboy boots and a hat. And so one of my lifelong goals is to own a horse that races in the Kentucky Derby. I feel like this is a good start.
that is a good start. I've been to one rodeo in Wyoming about 8 years ago. Ton of fun. I highly recommend everybody getting out to at least one. I'm sure you're gonna have a blast. But you want to go ahead and get to the Discord comments?
Absolutely. Do you have any idea where they left off?
I don't. Should we just
I'm
rank?
gonna start. I'm just gonna start here. So there was a lot of comments that were like for us. So I'm just gonna start at one that was for us. So shout out my dog Fam. If I was card, I would say Fam underscore 33, but you just fam to me, dog. Like we, you know what I mean? So Dion and Bluffs episode. Let's go. What's up, my guys? The meetup between you two is highly anticipated. What are some activities you'd like to do together when that time comes? Just so everyone knows. Riley spent the week disrespecting me. Um, he's referred to me as Darren Sproles to his LaDainian Tomlinson. And his words were, Sproles just ain't LT. So the meetup at the moment is on pause. Just gonna be honest. If we're in the same location at one time, that's great. I will purchase him a drink still, a dogfish IPA as he likes. And I'll make sure that he has a beverage, but it won't be planned. It will be because we happen to be in the same location.
That's well said. Let me be clear that a man can only take so much UNC slander before I snap back. And it just happens to be, I'm talking about how we're the Thunder and Lightning pairing. Thought about calling us D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart, but I wanted to aim higher. I was like, okay, who were the best backs that played with Darren Sproles? Because I got to make a short joke at Dion. Oh, it just so happens that like the best running back of the 2000s also played with Darren Sproles. So that's going to be me. I'm claiming that.
Yeah, complete another disrespect. So we're moving on. Sleeve Nash, Dion and Riz, huh? This is your moment. Go out there this week and show everyone you belong. I'm rooting for you. I know I've been critical at times, but this week's you've got a real shot to win me over for good. Be great. I love you guys. Appreciate it, Sleeve. All hail the Pope. Shout out my dog. Dion and Riley, who do you think will be the best Kentucky player this year? Also, predictions on the Kentucky versus Louisville game, assuming JQ is only playing like 10 minutes.
Okay, best player on Kentucky still Ortega. Prediction for that game, assuming JQ's playing 10 minutes. Is the game is it in Rupp or is it in the Yum Center this year?
Nah, it's in the Yum.
It's in the Yum. I think Louisville gets it done. Even if it was in Rupp, I think Louisville would push them. And that's more just a reflection because I love this Louisville team. I could be swayed on Kentucky winning it if they release a hype video ahead of time with the cat smirking emoji though.
So it's at the Yum. I'm gonna assume the spread's like Kentucky 6 or 7. I'm a money line guy, like underdogs. Pat Kelsey, all gas, no brakes. You know what I'm saying? Michael Brown, Big Woo. Um, yeah, everybody else that's on the roster, love all of them. I like Louisville a ton this year. It's in their crib, but at the end of the day, it might be in their city, but it's in our state. Kentucky by a billion.
This will be a
Anyway.
great bit for you, Dion, to be a fan of every blue blood but UNC.
I actually really like Louisville, by the way. I just think Kentucky's on another level. I also think that the best Kentucky player is going to be JQ when it's all said and done. I think JQ, when it's all said and done, top 3 to 5 player in the country. Um, my dog Pat signal Dion and Riley full episodes equals elite ball knowledge and Louisville respect. That's really tough. Really tough after what I just did. It's really tough. I'm sorry. What are your predictions or expectations for Kassan Pryor after a torn ACL, a new role playing with this deep backcourt? Um, I don't have much. I think it's really going to be dependent on everybody else. I think he's kind of a little bit of the odd man out. I don't know if Riley agrees, but I think it could work with everybody, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, with Pryor, so I actually covered this in my at a Riley Everyday this week. I'm counting down the top five storylines in the ACC ahead of the upcoming season. I'm going to do it for all power conferences. The third biggest storyline for me was how high is Louisville's ceiling? I think they should win the ACC this year. I'm very in on the cards, but I don't know how much of a role Pryor plays into that. I think he will be pushed by both Javon Hadley, who's just a lot more consistent and has a year in the scheme under his belt, averaged 13 and 7 last year, knocked down 38% from beyond the arc. And Kenai Roots, I think, is a sneaky like fringe breakout candidate who is a former top 60 recruit, played at IMG, has a lot of natural skill, a lot of ball handling that you don't see for guys who are 6'8", 6'9". And Pryor was just bad before the injury last year. Like he settled for a ton of jumpers and was not the same guy we saw at USF. I don't know if he didn't have the ball in his hands enough or wasn't featured or whatever it was. Like I'm in I need to see it to believe it mode with him.
Completely agree. Completely agree. I also, one thing I want to say, we have Riley every day. We have a newfound rivalry between me and Riley. Dion every night might be on the way. If that's something anybody wants, let me know. It's not going to take too many people for me to be bought in. If one person says we want Dion every night, I'll act like thousands do. That's just the way my brain operates. But Dion every night might be on the way as a little counter to Riley every day. Um, fam, let's run back the anonymously segment with Riz and D Hill, dealer's choice on topic. We could do that on Riley Friday. I like that.
I think that'd be pretty fun.
Um, I loved that topic with you, by the way. That was so much fun.
I thought it was
Man,
great, dude. I thought it was, dude, you had one of the funniest lines I've heard all year when it was the Musk quote about, oh my gosh, was it about,
about Jace.
it was about Jace, that he's better than every guy. He's as good as any guy we played against except the best
Yes.
players.
Musk
Dude,
was
that
like, yo,
had
he's
me
better than
tired.
everyone we played against besides the top 10 of the draft. Sick. Sick. Uh, Man, OVIC. Who's better at basketball right now, Bronny James or Jace Richardson? I'm not going to let us entertain that one. I know it's bait. I will say this, though. People need to stop sleeping on Bronny. I actually think Bronny can hoop. And let's not get it twisted. The man had a heart attack and tried to play on it at USC. Yes, he wasn't good at USC. Show me the player that's going to be good coming off a cardiac arrest months later.
For sure.
Allow him time to return. Um, T Steppy, hey guys, what were your thoughts on the finals and the potential for an OKC dynasty? By the way, the parade was lit, was able to high five SGA and catch a towel thrown from a shirtless Caruso. Um, my thoughts on the finals. I can't pretend I watched every single game. I let Riley know this earlier. I'm currently working 4 10-hour shifts at my job, Monday through Thursday. It makes things a little tough to watch every single game. My thoughts on the finals is it was high level basketball. The NHL called our bluff and said, "Oh, we're more excited than the NBA." And then that series turned into a complete bore. And my dog said, "We got you" with 7 incredible games. It's unfortunate the way it ended. I do believe the better team won. I believe the best team in basketball won. I think one of the greatest teams ever assembled won. And I think we have a dynasty on the way.
I I would say I had some of the same thoughts as you, where it didn't necessarily compel me as finals in the past have. There was a couple games I fell asleep during the third quarter. Hand up, I admit that. I did watch all of Game 6 and Game 7 though, and all of Game 5. I was locked in for the final three. I would say the Pacers won me over. I was initially out on them just as an entity, but I think the team ball was inspiring. I love how fast paced they play. I love all the turnovers that they force. And old head Carolina fans were like comparing them to like Dean Smith teams. So that always tugs at the heartstrings a little bit. I like Shea. I've liked him since he was at Kentucky. Happy for him. I don't know if it's going to be a dynasty just because it might be a cliche, but there's nothing given in the NBA. Like 4 years ago, I would have thought the Bucks were about to start not necessarily a dynasty, but I thought Giannis might have another ring by now. Like it just changes so quickly. Injuries are so random. The way the new CBA is structured, you're not seeing the super teams anymore. It's hard to replicate.
Yeah, I
Excuse me.
completely agree. I think it's hard to replicate, but and we're watching the draft live. There's rumors. My voice just cracked. That's tough. I mean, that's tough. But there's rumors the Thunder are jumping into the top 10. I don't think Sam Presti's done. I think he's going to make it work with everything. The the stock of picks they have, the youth that they have, it's going to be really hard for them not to stumble into like 2 more of these things. And that's crazy to say out loud with everything that's going on. But that was our final Discord comment. The rest say Riley Fridays. You get Riley on Thursday and Friday this week, guys. Let's be excited. Honestly, you get Riley every day. You might get Dion every night, though.
Topic number one, Dion. We are going to talk round one of the NBA draft winners. Whose haul did you particularly like from last night?
Whew, can I be, I don't think there's a ton of winners. I have to be honest. I'm not overtly impressed with anybody's draft. I think the biggest winner, if we're talking to an individual player, is Miami with Casparis. I
Hmm.
think being able to get Casparis at 20, I don't see how anybody could like kind of disagree with that one. I think that's a phenomenal pick. If you told Miami, going into draft day that, hey, you're getting Casparis at 20, I think they love that. I mean, I want to say Coop and Dylan, but we knew that months ago. That's not winners. Like you just did what you're supposed to do. Um, Ace at 5. And I'm not an ace guy, but to get the third best player at 5, I think is a big deal. That is who Philly wanted to take, whether they're going to ever admit it or not. That was Philly's pick. Ace said no. They bought into it. He told Utah no. Danny Ainge said, I don't care.
Yeah, for me, I love the Casper shout. I think that's probably my favorite pick of the night in terms of value and in terms of team fit and in terms of route to playing time. I mean, I said this on the video we did breaking down the pick. I said this in multiple episodes leading up to the draft. Casper to me is one of the biggest risers in my eyes. The more I delved into his tape, the more I learned about his background. I'm all in on the upside. While acknowledging the clear downside, I just think the upside is so tantalizing. And there's something about this kid I'm buying into. In terms of teams, I got an interesting story arc for you. Bad teams. Bad teams are winners this draft. Bad teams who have often been an afterthought, bad teams who we do not care about. I like what some of them did. I think you were spot on with Utah. Not only did they get Ace Bailey, they also got Walter Clayton Jr., who I know I'm a Walter Clayton Jr. believer. You are not. But getting at least, like, just throw a winner on that team. Can we acknowledge at least that that's something that would be smart to do with this team that feels a bit directionless right now, that was gonna sell Walker Kessler and they didn't. They're gonna sell Larry Markkinen, then they didn't. Maybe they end up moving on from both of those guys. We'll see. But just having someone who's a winner, I think that is a nice mesh of talent there. And even thinking about this, we talked about this in Ace's video reacting to that pick. Ace has been a loser. I'm happy that Ace at least has one winner who's coming in this draft class with him. Hopefully some good mentorship there. The other bad team I want to talk about is Brooklyn. And maybe it's a cheat to call Brooklyn a winner when they had like 7 picks. But like I just think they did a really good job of swinging for the fences at pretty much every stop. They approached the draft the way that I would want to if I was a team like if I was a Hornets fan and I had 6 picks, I would want 5 of them to be on like high upside swings, you know? I think the process here of having a bunch of picks, you don't know how many will actually pan out or even play in the NBA, but if you can hit on 2 of those, you're feeling pretty good about yourself.
Yeah, I would agree with that. If we're discussing a team, right, that had a great, it's the Nets or Utah. Or here's sneaky. I think the Hawks had a really good draft. I think the Hawks had, for a team aspect of things. Do we love that they traded Derek Queen away? Not really. But it sounds like they didn't want Derek Queen at 13, which is their own prerogative, I guess you could say. And if you're able to move off of Derek Queen at 13, where you wanted Ace Newell, you still get Ace Newell at 23, and you add Drake Powell at 22, and you get future assets. I like that. Like you mentioned Utah and Brooklyn. I mean, that quantity. With a draft like this, they swung on a bunch of players. I would call them winners just because like you hope 1 or 2 hits. If we're talking but if we're going back to like individual talents, Orlando getting Jace at 25.
Hmm.
In our reaction video, I mentioned a lot like I don't know that Jace is playing right away. I
Hmm.
really don't. And I'm going to continue to say that, and we'll see what happens. And this might wind up kind of like the Edie discourse from last year, where I said, "Hey, I'm not I'm not here to say Edie isn't an NBA player, but no, I don't think Edie's like a 30-minute per game guy rookie year.
Hmm.
No, I don't think Edie's like a playoff guy year one. I don't know that I think Jace is a 15, 20-minute rookie. I really don't think he is on Orlando specifically. That's just a deep roster. But to get a guy like Jace at 25, like I don't see like is there any better individual value? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. He was someone in my mind that, yeah, at that point in the draft, getting a guy who was seen as a top 12 selection until he measured without his shoes on. Pretty good pick on the Magic's part. I'm glad you highlighted Atlanta, although I'd be remiss to not correct you in one spot. It was they drafted Drake Powell and traded him to Brooklyn. It's tough to keep up with all the Brooklyn picks, but I think it was really smart with like I personally don't have a lot of separation between Derek Queen and Asa Newell as a prospect. There's an argument that could be made that Asa Newell's a little bit safer. Like I think Newell's still a little bit undersized if he's a 5, but he's not as undersized as Derek Queen, and he's certainly a better athlete. Had a crazy amount of dunks last season. And I think Newell's another guy who wouldn't have been a surprise to go in the lottery. You were able to trade out of that original spot, get him later on, and also stack some assets. As I look at this draft, though, well, this will tie into loser some. Uh, There's not a ton of guys where I'm like, oh, you got great value on them. There weren't a ton of shocking falls. Like Casparis is the big one. I guess Jace is a bigger one as well, but not exactly unexpected. Um, I mean, going back to the bad teams point, I like Will Riley a lot at pick 21. I think the Wizards need to keep taking dart throws and try to get another star or something, and bringing in Trey Johnson at 6. I mean, those are two of my favorite players in the draft. I had them both comfortably inside. I mean, Johnson was third on my big board. Riley was number 16. So to get them where they did, I think very good management on the Wizards' part, which I know not many people say. Yeah, as a whole though, not a ton of other guys jump out as like, oh, great value type picks.
Let me see. Hold on. Let me think about. Give me 1 second. There was one we missed. Give me 1 second.
Is it my guy Johan Berenger,
Absolutely not.
Mobile Rudy?
No.
Uh, Liam McNeely, pick 29.
No. Man, 10. Man, 10. I think maybe not like value. There was
Mm-hmm.
rumors Man was being like discussed at 2 and 3. And
Mm-hmm.
I think being able to get Man at 10, if your Phoenix is a home run, especially, and I say especially when you look at who was taken above him, right? Whether it was Colin Murray Boyles with the pick right above, Yegor at 8, which I do love Yegor, by the way, but like I think I'd rather have Man than Yegor. Um, and then when you look at who goes after, I think there's a steep drop off from who Man could potentially be in the NBA to who these guys could, like Cedric Howard, Noah Essingay, Derek Queen, Carter Bryant, Thomas Sorber. Give me Man over them a million times out of a million. I think there was a steep drop off from Man to the rest of the draft. And honestly, maybe even like one or two of the picks in front of him. I know it's not value in terms of like, oh, Man went 10, no one's surprised by that. I think it's value in terms of who was on the board. Like to be able to get like that's amazing. There's a reason the Hawks, or excuse me, the Pelicans traded up to get Derek Queen. They felt like he was the last one left for them, right? They mentioned the Thunder wanted him at 15. They had to get above them. A large reason teams were like, "What do? We need to start making moves. We need to draft Thomas Sorber. We need to move up for Derek Queen." Because the Suns took Man and kind of shook everything up. Because there's not much left in the draft following it, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I still, as you know from our reaction video, I love Thomas Sorber to where I guess I gotta throw a shout out to OKC. The champs keep winning. But I will accept that as a winning move for Phoenix. I do think 10th feels appropriate for Malawach. It doesn't feel necessarily too late, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if like 5 years from now we're looking back at this draft and it's like, man, Malawach fell all the way to number 10. How did we not see this when we knew the upside was there? We knew the face-up game was there. He just didn't show it much at Duke, you know? So yeah, I think good list of winners. Not a ton of shockers. We'll get into the losers next with topic number 2 though. But anything else? Any final thoughts you have on this first round for teams that you got to give the respect to, or that surprised you with a surprisingly good, with a yeah shockingly good haul?
I gotta, obviously Sleeve Nash, that is in the Discord, has been critical of me from time to time on the channel. But like, much respect for Sleeve. One thing Sleeves asked me a lot, and I had to apologize to him today because I thought I responded to him and I thought we discussed it, but we didn't. Sleeves been asking me a few times like why I think it's a weak draft class. When these names are on paper now, I think everybody kind of gets it. Like when you look at these names on paper next to teams, like and you're really like, yo, who won this draft? We have no idea. We have no idea. And to be fair, some of the best draft classes, like the J-Dub Thunder year, are years where like, yo, what is about to happen? And then it just sticks and it works. And maybe 4 or 5 years from now, I'm regretting everything I'm saying right now. But when you put these names next to teams and you're asking who won this draft, it's the Mavs and the Spurs because they got the two players I know are really good.
It's well said. And the Spurs also taking Carter Bryant. Great roster fit, great talent added. Yeah, I Kind of surprised it took us as long to say them. They're very clear-cut winners for me as well. Topic number two, Dion. Who are the biggest losers from this draft, aside from us for botching a Hanson Yang video that is doing numbers as we speak?
It was, I'd probably say first and foremost, the Portland Trail Blazers because they took Hanson in. So
Respect my
I
guy,
would say,
big hands.
no, honestly, I think the biggest loser of the draft is Philly because they made the pick. So Philly making the pick, it doesn't take away all trade value. I always say this though, like the NBA draft is one of those situations. If you are like a contender with picks, the moment you make the picks, it's like taking a car off a lot. Like that value plummeted.
Mhm.
And the way teams are going to look at VJ Edscombe, the Philadelphia 76er, is like not the way they would have looked at VJ Edscombe, the third overall pick from Baylor. It's two different. I don't know why. You got to ask NBA teams that. But I think because Philly made the pick, because Paul George is still on this roster, because it wasn't Ace Bailey, and I'm not an Ace guy, but like they got backed into a corner by Ace Bailey, had to agree to something that they didn't want to agree to. They took a guy that wasn't their first choice, and they still have Paul George on the roster. I don't know how Philly isn't your loser.
Yeah, I think that's a smart angle to approach it. I give him a little bit of grace just because of VJ Edgecombe. Like I'm a good bit higher on him than you are. I also like VJ more. I know it's kind of silly to nitpick like this. I would like VJ so much more at pick 5 to 7 than pick 3. Like you just want someone who feels a little more of a sure thing, even though I buy the defensive tools translating for VJ. That offense still has a ways to go, despite the flashes he showed through the latter half of the season. He just doesn't it based on the season he had, it doesn't really feel like a number 3 pick. And that honestly goes right into number 4 with the Hornets taking Khan. And when we started doing our NBA big board stuff, I felt like I was a Khan guy. I think I had him fifth or sixth initially on my big board. And the more I watched Kasparis, the more I watched Trey Johnson, the more I watched Jeremiah Fears, I started thinking that there are these three guards who are going to go behind Khan who have way higher upside, who don't have the T-Rex arms and there's just a little more variance with their outcome. Now, I'll give you credit when we did our reaction video to this, you laid out why the Hornets might want someone a little bit safe because they've been playing with fire and they got burned by Tijani Salon. Shout out to Tijani Salon who played for Ulm, the same team that Noah Essengay and then Seraph are currently playing, or Seraph is still with them. Essengate dipped, but this might be breaking news. By the time people are listening to this, Dion and I might be doing a live reaction to Ulm and Bayern Munich in the the German league final to see if Essengate's gamble pays off with him leaving his team. But yeah, with the way the Hornets have drafted recently, they've taken swings on guys that haven't worked out. It makes sense that Khan does seem like a safer bet. Just like that shooting is going to translate, the size is going to translate, despite the T-Rex arms. Like he has, I would say, good positional size. The playmaking that should translate as well. But it's just tough for me. Charlotte's always going to struggle to attract fans because they play in the home state of UNC and Duke, where like the people who care about sports in North Carolina, the Hornets are way down on the priority list to their college allegiances. I just think if you want to get more fans invested, if you want to build around some excitement with like, I mean, I think Brandon Miller's excited the fan base a lot more than LaMelo at this point. Taking someone like Jeremiah Fears, who you see the handles, the burst, like what he did at the age of 17, getting an Oklahoma team that had nobody on it to the NCAA tournament, that's an easier sell to me than being like, oh yeah, we got Luke Kennard Redux, you know?
That's fair. I think one of the other biggest losers, and we'll just go back and forth on losers here. To me, people are not gonna like this. It's the Wizards. It's Walter Clayton Jr. at 18. It's Trey Johnson. I like Trey at 6. Don't get me wrong, but I'm Trey. I'm souring on a tad. I think I would have went Jeremiah instead. I think I probably would have went Kasparis or Yegor instead too. Um, but Walter Clayton Jr. at 18. You move off JP to bring in Trey. I said this on the reaction video. I don't know how much of a difference there is. I feel the same way about Jeremiah down in New Orleans with JP. You moved for JP, and then you drafted Jeremiah. I don't know how much of a difference there is. And maybe I'm way wrong on Jordan Poole, and maybe it's a little bit of the bias from that 2022 season, but like I just feel like the Wizards and Pelicans do a lot of shuffling around the same players. Let's do something different, man. Like let's try something new. Like you're on your third like Jordan Poole type player if you're Washington. You're on your seventh Jordan Poole type player, including Jordan Poole if you're the Pelicans. You ran through a million guards. Like let's try something different. I like the pick of Trey, but I don't like the Walter Clayton pick at 18 by any means. I also don't know that I love what the Trey Johnson pick means. But again, I do want to second it to the man pick. You look at Trey at 6, look at who was taken after him. Great pick, right? Like it's hard to say that was a bad pick.
Mhm.
That's why I say put the names next to the teams. Tell me this is a good draft. I don't think you can.
Yeah, I don't know. I still am a Walter Clayton Jr. guy, so I'm cool with the Wizards. It's funny you mentioning the Wizards and the Pelicans just exchanging these same archetypes. It reminds me, I'm a Bucks fan. Before the Bucks got Tom Brady and before Jason Light became one of the better GMs in the NFL, the Bucks and the Falcons used to just exchange terrible coaches. It was like Dirk Cutter, Mike Smith, Raheem Morris. They were all going back and forth, just circling. One would get fired and then they get hired by the next one. And that's what it reminds me of. And that's how like these teams continue to stay at the bottom. They make the same dumb moves repeatedly. Maybe it works out this time. I wish Fears was going to a more desirable destination than New Orleans just because I think he can be an electrifying player. And, we've heard enough draft people say they take him top three. They take him after Harper, like his upside is that high. At the same time, I get the shooting concerns, the turnover concerns that led to I don't even say a fall, that led to him not going to the top five. But yeah, would definitely wish it was a little more of an exciting location. I'll name three more picks that I just didn't really like. Colin Murray Boyles, I think, is the most overrated guy in the first round, much less the lottery. I don't think he has much offensive game. He's more of a center than a four at this point, and he's undersized by that math. Cedric Coward going at 11 to me is insane when he played 6 games last year.
I disagree with that. Who else would they have taken?
Uh, let's see. If you want to wing at that point, I'd take Carter Bryant before I take Cedric Coward.
Oh no.
I would
No.
take Will Riley before Cedric Coward.
No.
I would definitely take Neat Clifford before Cedric Coward.
God no.
I would
Are you
take
kidding me?
Jace before Cedric Coward for a little perimeter
Yes.
pop.
Yes, absolutely.
Uh, you're not gonna like this. I would take Drake Powell before Cedric Coward.
You could convince me.
Okay, okay. Look at us. Look at us
You
in
could convince me.
lockstep on this.
But I mean, going back to it, I would hear out, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to like to dunk on your take here. I would hear out that it was a bad trade. Like I could hear like if I was Memphis, I would have just stuck at 16 because you like the guys that are available. Trading up 5 spots, giving up a future asset for Cedric Howard is a lot. I could hear that. But it's much like the other picks where it's like, yo, who else is here? Who's left? And if the answer is Neat Clifford, I'm good. If it's Jace, I get, but where does Jace fit on Memphis? I don't know if there is a fit. You know what I mean? But Cedric Howard has a very clear fit on Memphis. Or some of the other names you mentioned.
I said Carter Bryant. I said Drake Powell. I think
Carter
that
can't
was it. With
Carter can't shoot.
no, Carter shot 37% last year.
Yeah, looks
Yeah.
ugly though.
But Coward to me he's the one where he played 6 games last year, his first season of Power Conference basketball. He had 9 points against Iowa. That was like the one game against Power Conference competition he played last year. Like
Yeah,
he he had 23 points against Portland State. He had 18, 7, and 3 against Bradley. He had 30 and 5 against Northern Colorado, like sick, but those are bye games.
yeah,
I just can't get there so one of the 6 games he played, he scored 4 points against Idaho,
yeah,
which
yeah.
they won by 23, so maybe he didn't need to do much. But that's what really scares me is just the throughout his career, anytime they played like power conference opponents or the best of the best, he was not the same player. He wasn't this hyper efficient two-way wing. And I see why he went in the first round when the way he tested at the combine with the physical measurements, yeah, take a swing on this guy in the first round. But trading up for him at 11, there were just other wings I liked better. And I would kind of throw Noah Essengay in the same boat in terms of like every wing that I named that I would take over Cedric Coward, I would probably take over Noah Essengay as well. Maybe not Drake Powell, as much as I love my guy Drake. Noah's athleticism is insane to where I could see that, but I'd still probably lean Neek over Essengay.
No.
Will Riley versus Essengay is probably closer for me, but yeah, they're just wings I like better that I think are a little more proven.
I think Will Riley, if you're drafting strictly upside, yes. Memphis needs someone that can play tomorrow. I don't think Will Riley's ready to do what Cedric Howard's ready to do tomorrow. And I think the same can go for Neek to an extent, lesser extent, but it could go for Neek. I think the same could go for Carter Bryant too. Carter Bryant shot well from three. Everything was completely wide open. Like no one was like closing out hard on Carter Bryant in college. And I'm not saying they will at the NBA, but Memphis is looking for somebody that you're going to close out hard on because that's what opens up the lane for Ja and creates the Ja ED pick and roll that's really tough to guard, or the Ja Jaren pick and pop, which is equally as tough to guard. So I think we're talking about a Memphis team who took Coward. Coward at 11, I might disagree with, but Coward to Memphis at 11, I don't disagree with. But I could also hear the notion of like I could see Drake. I really could with what he does. What's Soldier Boy say? Drake. But like I could see that like because of the defensive aspect of things. I think it's more so like my issue with it would be the trade up to 11.
Hmm.
If they just sat at 16 and took Coward, I don't think there's anything wrong with
For
that.
sure. For sure. Yeah, good discussion. Couple losers here. Like you said, you're making a pretty strong case that this class wasn't that great. Still plenty of prospects I like. Some are who are still on the board, and that'll lead us to the next topic number three. Let's do a quick discussion of the best available. Dion, who are you looking at early in round two?
Um, I mean, best available or who am I most interested in seeing if they're picked? Because who am I most interested in seeing if they're picked is Janai Brewer.
Hmm. Where are you at on him? Do you think he's good?
No, I don't. But he is like the most like interesting prospect left. I think best available is a Dutiero, or Tyrese Proctor. I think they have the two, in my opinion, they have the two like I can see it NBA games. Because when you look at a lot of this like list that's still available, Maxime Reneau, yeah, I guess. Rasheer Fleming, again, yeah, I guess. Noah Penda, I admittedly don't know much about Ryan Kalkbrenner food in the NBA.
I
Food.
don't think
Like
food is harsh. I don't know if it'll be food.
food.
He was like
Barbecue ribs.
he
I'm
was the
talking about
best defender
falling
in the
off the
Big
bone.
East.
Traeger.
He was the best defender in the Big East for like 3 years running.
May I have this dance? See me at this 3 point line.
I'm with you on a Thiero. I think he's the first name that comes to my mind. He's someone who's like, I, I I wouldn't think it was crazy to take a Thiero over Noah Essengay. They're pretty much the same player. Essengay's
What?
just Essengay's a good bit taller, but they're the same archetype. Chaos causing wings who can handle some and who can't shoot, and who are really explosive above the rim players. They're basically the same player, other than Essengay's 6'10" and Thiero's like 6'6", which, to be fair, important, but
Massive difference. I mean, James Richardson just fell like 17 spots over less of a height difference.
once you get past, you can respect this as someone like I've never touched 6 feet in my life. There was a time period my senior year of high school where I thought maybe I was 6 foot, but it was
No.
because of a certain pair of shoes I wore. When you get over 6'5", it's all the same to me. We
Well,
just can't.
I'm listed at 6'2", Riley. Please respect me.
Another name I like Reno a lot. To me he feels like a late first rounder to where I don't know. I don't think it's some great travesty that he wasn't selected. He again fits that same archetype of Hanson Yang and all these playmaking bigs who I wonder when they're going to get a chance to showcase their playmaking ability. I know you just mentioned Fleming. Fleming's another wing I'd probably take over Cedric Howard.
Oh, no
Dude,
way.
I like Fleming a lot. I think Fleming's so slept on.
No way.
He's like he is the least slept on sleeper who is still somehow slept on because he didn't go in the first round.
No way you're
Dude,
taking it over Cedric
he's got a
Coward.
7'5" wingspan and he's a better defender, and he actually hooped last year.
That part's fair, yeah.
And I
And
think
Cedric
his
didn't play last year, so
his
that part is fair.
his jumper is ugly though. I think he was like
Yeah.
at 39%, but that thing is it's ugly. That is not going that's gonna take some more work whenever he gets to the league. But I like Fleming a lot. I'll give you one more name that I'm gonna say there's the odds are okay, help me out here. I'm not good. So if it's plus money, okay. So if I gave you plus money odds that you would know this player, would that imply that I don't think you know this player or the okay?
Yeah.
So let's say the odds are like plus 500 that you know who this player is.
Okay. This is gonna be so disrespectful to all the listeners, by the way.
What do you know about Bogoljub Markovic?
I don't know who that
All right, I'm glad I stumped you on that one. He's
is.
one of the dudes who played for KK Megabet, that Adriatic team. In my league, the AVA, you know I've been tapped into my AVA hoops. My guy, Big Jube, Big Mark, whatever you want to call him, he yet again another playmaking big who will probably never get a chance to show his playmaking ability.
Riley loves playmaking bigs who will not be able to play make at the NBA level because they aren't that good of playmakers. That's his favorite archetype of player. Playmaking big won't play make though. It reminds me of Musselman was like, he was the best player we played against besides the really good ones.
That's all these players who I gravitate toward. There's something to me where I was like, ooh, a 6'10" dude who could do some passy passy. Like this is fun. And meanwhile, they can't guard a cone, and so they're relegated to the G League minutes for their whole career.
If they're
Uh,
lucky, if they're like, this dude, if he sees an NBA court, I'd be blown away.
yeah, Markovich is never coming over. He's gonna
No,
stay in this. Dude, the KK Mega jerseys
no.
though, the pink jerseys, that are have you watched much of Yelovich, the Serbian dude coming to play at Kentucky? He played
Not
he played
yet.
for Megabet. I feel like you would love Yelovich. They got the coolest jerseys. For a while, Mega was sending a bunch of guys to the league. Like I
Name
want
me
to
three. Name me three.
I'm pretty sure Timothy Luwawu.
I can watch you Googling it right now, by the way. You just started. Yeah, there you
Okay, hold on. You see the hands.
Name me
Uh,
three.
Timothy Luwawu Cabarro.
Stinks.
So there's one. We have Timothy Luwawu.
They
Who
sent a
else
bunch
played
of
for
players to the
Mega?
league. It's gonna be two guys drafted tonight, and then Timothy Cabarrou, who did
What
when he was on
about
the Thunder, who when they were bad. Like he's
I feel like Mario Hezonja played for Mega.
oh really?
Let's roll with it. Don't fact check me on it.
I
Think
won't. I like Kazonia's game.
maybe
He
like
was kind of like they thought he was like Spanish Kobe.
they
He
thought he
was
was Croatian Kobe, and he
my
was
bad. I
yeah,
didn't mean
he
to be.
was he was Croatian Jody Meeks.
Yeah, wasn't Kobe. But I
Uh,
love the idea of him potentially being Kobe because every time he hit a shot, I'm like, yo, this is the moment.
yeah,
And then it just
right.
nothing ever happened.
I'm gonna bet that one of Dario Saric and
All right,
Mario
let's move on.
Hezonja
This is
definitely played for Mega.
let's move on. This
Don't
we're
disrespect the Mega pipeline. Bogoljub Markovic is next up. You heard it here first. One big thing, Dion, what do you have for us?
one big thing. I don't have anything in particular. I normally have like one word for these and then something. But one big thing, I really just want to shout G and Card out. I don't know if they view today as like the biggest day in their careers. Like they've done a ton of really fun stuff within this at this point. As like a third party bystander, just watching everything they've done and now like knowing a little bit of the behind the scenes. I would say this is probably like the biggest moment of their careers, and if it isn't one, two behind the final four, like red carpet couch, I would guess. But obviously, that's for them to decide. But I really just want to shout them out for like a massive moment. Something I unfortunately like Riley and I were recording, not unfortunately, I think it was a lot of fun recording with Riley, but like we didn't get to watch it. I am excited to go back and watch it. Some tonight and tomorrow. Like it seemed like they did a really good job. The reception to it was phenomenal. Um, I'm just really proud of them. I remember like meeting them on Locker Room probably like 5 years ago at this point, and like the channel had 20, 30 views of video, And I remember like the days where like they weren't sure like how long they were gonna do it for. Then boom, G goes like full time with it. And it wasn't always easy for him. Like he had a lot of ups and downs. And for him as well as Cart to have this moment where it solidifies everything they've done for over like half a decade at this point of like, hey, it's all worth it, and we are somebody, and we are like competitors to anything that anybody else can provide. Like I'm just really proud of them. Happy for them. I hope they're enjoying New York. I hope they're having some form of celebratory beverage as well. And I just want to say I love you, brothers. I hope you guys are enjoying New York.
Dang, that was very sweet. I ditto everything Dion said. It's been a joy just to get to be alongside them for the last 2 years doing this more seriously. Have a lot of the same stories of like, I mean, they had me come on the show 4 years ago at this point when it was still the starting five. I didn't even have a podcast mic, and I fumbled my way through an episode where we debated Giannis versus Trey Young. And to see them get to this level is really special. And yeah, I love both those dudes and just unbelievably proud of them. I'm gonna take my one big thing a little less sentimental. Fire stations, Dion. You ever been to a fire station?
Have I what?
You ever been to a fire station? You know where fire
Everybody's
trucks
been to
are.
a fire station, Riley.
So you said
You go on field trips at elementary school.
so fire stations are extremely slept on. I am on vacation this week with my wife, her family, our son Theo is here. We are on an island in North Carolina, and there's the local fire station that unveiled two new fire trucks earlier this week. It was a big whole to do with like all the kids who are seemingly on this island, and Theo was a big fan of it. Got to get in a bunch of fire trucks, loved sitting in the seats. I will give him a shout out. There's also a basketball hoop in the driveway of this fire station. As soon as he saw that, he just started saying, "Shoot ball, shoot ball, shoot ball." And I was like, "Yeah, my guy, you got your priorities straight. Like trucks are cool, basketball's cooler." Speaking of like aside from that though, Fire Station had a cool weight room in it. Fire Station also had a Blackstone. As far as first responders go, shout out to firefighters. Y'all are the real heroes, and I'm glad that you got some nice setups too. Seems like obviously you're putting your life on the line, but I'm glad that you get to have some fun like team building activities in the middle of that with weightlifting, basketball, and the Blackstone. So yeah, just want to give a shout out to our real heroes tonight to end the show.
Riley's the problem with everything in the world. Y'all are risking your lives. I'm glad you get to grill though.
I just had this realization that was like, maybe in another world, I'm a firefighter. And I'm just enjoying hitting the weight room, going putting out some fires, coming back to the station, hitting the Blackstone, making some smash burgers, and ending the day with some pickup.
Riley's like, just risked my life this morning. About to grill tonight though, so it's all good. No, seriously though, shout out to firefighters. Like in it, any first responder, it's a very, very tough gig. Not just physically, not enough people talk about it, but the mental aspect of it too. Some of the things you see are very like tough to live with. And it's a shout out to them, and I hope they get to grill tonight.
For sure, for sure. We will be back tomorrow talking some second round stuff, giving you our classic banter as well. Make sure you stay tuned in and make sure you watch all our draft coverage. Go watch that Bleacher Report stream with the two big boss men on it who killed it. So, on behalf of Dion and Riley, we're out on this one.